Greetings and welcome to my channel. This is Sorcerer Tal. You can also find me online at thesorcerersguild.com as well as on Facebook at The Sorcerers Guild. Today on Magical Theory, we are going to be talking about the groove. So what is the groove? If the weird is the turning of the will as the present moment is woven into the fabric of reality, then the groove is the manner in which that will turns. Okay, so a groove is both a musical term as well as a term for a cut and a piece of wood or other material in which something is intended to follow. Like in the grooves cut in my pipe here, that one could follow along if they wanted. Or even the threads on a nut and bolt. Yeah, you have the two grooves that line up, and as you turn them, the nut goes up or down the bolt. Okay, so let's talk about it as music first. Even science has this idea of the Big Bang as the first moment, the creation of the universe. Well, they speak of it as a destructive explosion. I see a similar concept, but rather than a destructive explosion, I see this as a harmonic symphony, a holy noise, if you will, like the plucking of a string in which reality has then branched out, reverberating from that string as the vibrations go out. That energy, that transfer, that process of information and transfer of the sound of music emanating out through the cosmos, creating reality as it goes forth. Yeah? Okay, so a song is not just the groove. The groove is only part of a song. So what part is it? It's the rhythm. It's the part that of the guitar, of the bass guitar, and the bass, and the drums. It is the rhythmic pattern within a song. And so the groove, then, is that part of reality that repeats. It is the part that makes you want to move. If we want to enter into the groove, then we need to understand the rhythm and pattern of that which is around us. I spoke quite a while ago about probability and momentum. The momentum is a part of this groove. And we'll get into that more in a moment, but we don't want to stick on the repetition so much as much as the aesthetic. Yeah, this first part where we're talking about music, this is very heavily relying on the law of aesthetics and the patterns and themes that reality takes. And if we learn to recognize the groove, then this is a way that we can predict what's going to happen and just allow us to predict choices. Yeah, things tend to repeat. There is a groove to the way things move. There is a rhythm. And we can even begin using this to enter into the zone, as they refer to it in sports terms. Part of entering into that zone is catching the rhythm of a situation. And sometimes you can even just let yourself into it, yeah? If you're having trouble picking up that groove, it's all around us at all times. And you can actually just let yourself go into it. I actually sometimes just hold my hand out and just let it start catching the rhythm. Another way to do this is to focus on the beating of your heart. The groove is in the heart, like the song says, yeah? But all jokes aside, seriously, that is another way to begin understanding this concept is to meditate and focus on the rhythm of one's heart and that beating. And then from there, allow that beat to pick up. And then rather than ignoring what is around you, allow your senses to reach out for the sound of the groove and the music of all that is around you. Yeah, this is an inner thing, but the groove is everywhere. This isn't just something you're going to find if you're meditating. You're not just reaching in. You also want to reach out to listen to all the sounds around you, because the music is everywhere. We are all part of the song. Okay, so how is this useful to us as sorcerers? Well, this is why we sing when we cast spells. This is why music is often involved. This is part of the reason that rhythmic drum beating can put us in trances, is because we are entering into that groove. Okay, so let's now talk about the other aspect of this, the repetition. The part that is relying on the law of repetitions, that following the groove. Now, we're getting into that same area, and I mentioned just a moment ago about getting into the zone. And that's somewhere in between it with this repetition, but also the rhythm. And we can begin to add this into our exercises. I was talking about the exercises before. We want to learn to use in that time to move within the groove. Okay, so let me explain that a little bit better. We are talking partially about that rhythm. And I mentioned a moment ago about letting your hand sit out. And there's just a general vibe. If you allow your hand to just go, after a moment, it will start catching on to it, and then we want to start the movements. And that is what I mean by moving with the groove. And that is going to improve the chi flow. I will get more into that on other videos, but for now, just understand that idea of moving with the groove. And that is part of how we get into the zone. And then there is the other side of the groove, which is created by repetition. Yeah, the more you go through the certain area, the more it creates a groove. And that's where we get the muscle memory that we're creating there, that we use for the sorcery self-defense. But that is a very niche area of this. I will do more on that in the future. Let's just continue on with this idea of repetition and the following of patterns. This is how we begin to learn the lessons. I mentioned before about the bolt, turning up the spiral. There is this repetition that goes throughout, and each time we need to learn to make slightly different choices by recognizing the patterns as they come to us. And this is how we advance. But also, we can take advantage of this repetition and recognizing these patterns by recognizing specific things within those patterns. So we've covered what the groove is. So where is the groove? The groove comes both before and after the spinning of the weird. Yeah, because it is in both the beat in the rhythm that has just occurred, as well as in the beat of the rhythm which will soon occur. Or if we want to think of it in the other metaphor, it is the groove in the track as the ball rolls through. It is both before the ball and after the ball. Yeah? And so what is the groove? And what do I mean by that? The groove is as we move forward, and it is also what we left behind. That is how the groove is created. And what is it and what then is the groove. So to be more precise, we have, I spoke before about the idea of the crossroads and how there's the all thing and the nothing, and everything in between is the spinning of the weird. Well, there's actually many different variables at play in this spinning. We have the all thing, the nothing, chaos, order. There are many different spectrums all reaching into this center, many different threads. Yeah? And really it's, as I said before, it's quite simple once you accept how complex it is. But there are many different threads reaching into this center point where the spinning is taking place. But the ones, it can be the two main threads, or we can, to make it simpler, we can speak of it as chaos and order. And in the center is the groove as we move between the two. So in order to say that, we then have to explain what chaos and order are. And that, of course, can be a bit more difficult. But in this sense, chaos is potential, and order is that which already is. It is the structure of that which we are up against. Yeah? It is, one could say, fate and free will, perhaps. But for this metaphor, it is best to go with chaos and order. And we have that potential, and that unobserved potential is to be more apt. I spoke a little while ago about this idea of an unobserved potential. That is chaos. And that potential which has been brought forth already is order. This is the things that have been given structure. This is the things that have been given name and defined. And each moment, as we move through reality, we are in between these two things. And that is the other part of the groove. And as we learn to identify the patterns of how these potentials are going to manifest and how the potential that already exists is going to interact with the unobserved potential, or that which has not yet occurred, we can then catch the groove, catch the rhythm, and find the best groove of which we can follow. Yeah? This is the one thing that the word commandment isn't the best word for it, but this is the one thing that we have to follow, is thou shalt groove. That is the only way forward. It's not so much a commandment as much as how things are. You have to find your path. You have to find the way that you are going to move through each moment and come out the other side. Your rhythm of how you are going to proceed. Because we're each going to form our own patterns, our own repetitions. This is the nature of reality. And you don't have to call it the groove. And of course, my view isn't the only one. Yeah? Maybe you don't see the world as a song, and that's fine. This is only one way to perceive things. I'm not trying to make it thou shalt groove as that sort of commandment in that nature. I'm just saying that we have to find our niche. We have to find our routines and patterns in our life so that we survive and go forward. Because the only other option is to cease rolling. Yeah? To stop spinning and creating your groove. So, in that sense, thou shalt groove. Okay. I thought today's video was going to be a much easier concept than it came out to be. I've been thinking about it all week, and honestly I thought, oh, this is going to be an easy video. But really, I feel like these are fairly complex concepts, and apparently I'm having a little bit of trouble accepting how simple they are, or accepting how complex they are, so that they can become simple. Like I've said before, it's simple once you accept how complex it is. But our language is a bit clumsy, yeah? And this is the best metaphor that I could come up with to describe these concepts. I hope that I made sense. Feel free to ask questions in the comments. Perhaps through the questions we can come to a better understanding of the concept between us, yeah? So, please, anywhere I wasn't clear in here, go ahead and ask. We'll sort it out together. Okay, so that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you once again for joining us. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please take the opportunity to do so now. Until next time, bright blessings and an interesting fate. This has been Sorcerer Tal.